right, welcome back. It's Breakfast Daily. The show is interactive, and we want to hear from you throughout the show. We're going to get into our community-focused conversations this morning. Today we'll be talking about galamsey. Now, the show is interactive, and we do want to hear from you, so use the hashtag Breakfast Daily for us to hear what you're thinking. The WhatsApp line is 0550585832. All right, don't hesitate to send us a message when you have any thoughts on the conversations that we're having. Of course, I want to say a big thank you to Sky Water and Creamy Plus for sponsoring the show, and a big thank you also to Note Cosmetics for supporting us. And Apiko, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you.
Right.
Yeah. So this morning, the quote of the day was quite interesting. It said that instruction of the youth is like engraving a stone.
Exactly.
You know, and I think that one of the things that we haven't done well with as a nation is thinking about the fact that whatever instruction, be it active or passive, okay, is actually like engraving a stone. Remember,
Exactly.
I don't know if you've been to some of these places where there's this rock, umbrella rock in eastern region in Koforidua, and when you get there, you see people have written on the rock, try to engrave the rock, and some of it dates back to the 70s and 80s, and you're asking yourself, wow, all these years ago, people came here, people were here, right? And that's how indelible the instruction to the youth and children are.
Precisely. And so whatever we're doing, like you said, whether we're doing it actively or passively, young people, and even us as adults, we pick up things that we see. Sometimes, let me use a funny example. And you run into some people who come from, say, the Abruzzi land.
Okay.
It could be from Europe or wherever it is. And then you spend an hour at them, and subconsciously, because you want them to understand what you're saying, you pick up a bit of an accent.
The accent starts to do
it happens to some people, but that's a typical example of being instructed or imbibing something just by being around it. And it's even more so for children. Young people are very impressionable. There's a reason why we say when you have kids, especially between the ages of 0 to 5, you are very careful about what you say. At that point, anything you say, anything you do, they will copy you.
Soaking it up.
They will copy you. And I'm very happy you started off this segment with this quote, because we're going to be talking about galamsey. What are we teaching our young people? What are we teaching them? I was at a cocoa farm last week, Tuesday. We were, filming diplomatic license with the EU ambassador to Ghana. And I was speaking to a woman cocoa farmer. She's 62 years old. As for why she's still actively farming at 62, that's a whole conversation for another day. The fact that there are no pension schemes for people who are in that part of the informal sector, farming and whatnot. But
meanwhile, that's our biggest, one of our biggest income earners as a nation. There's no pension schemes for
Thank you very much. But I asked her, and the other women around her, and the few men who were there, that would their children be interested in continuing the family trade of farming, and even if it's not cocoa, any kind of farming. And she says no. Her children are in school, and those who have completed, they've gone back to school for higher learning, because for them, they need to get out of the space. They see the wretched, quote-unquote, lives that their mother, their parents are living, and they don't want that for themselves. And others have said they've literally had to uproot their children from the farming communities. They have, relatives who have done the same in other parts of the country, because they don't want them to be involved in galamsey. And for them, when they see the benefits, the young people see the benefits, quote unquote, that other young people their age within their community are getting from galamsey, the things they're able to buy, the places they're able to go, the people they're able to rub shoulders with, that's what they want to do. So for them as parents, they've literally had to uproot their children, send them to wherever else in the country that they will not be exposed to such. And that's how they're living. So there's a conversation about lands and what it's doing to our environment. There's a conversation about what galamsey is doing to our water bodies and how the Ghana Water Company has consistently, since 2017, if not earlier, told us that galamsey is causing problems for them because the sand, all these coarse elements that are getting into their machines are ruining them. We've had all these conversations, but what we are forgetting is the legacy, the indelible legacy, the indelible engraving in the stones of time and space within our country that we are leaving for the youth. And I really don't know where we think we are headed by just, cracking loose whips with this galamsey thing.
It's a very bizarre.
It's like we're playing Ludo. Oh, today let's try and throw 6 so that we can top the game. Then another day it's like, okay, we are playing once, we are playing lost. It's okay. It's not okay.
I'm very disappointed every time I hear a politician come to talk, and they are sounding positive and about Ghana. It's a single financier of galamsey being outed, being dealt with by the law. Honestly, it's like a joke.
Exactly.
I don't get it. And I'm like, it's better you just shut up. Don't come and talk some. Don't even say anything.
And
because when you say, you're exposing yourself.
They can't say they don't know.
They know.
Look, and still talking about the youth, you go on places. A little later, we'll be talking about whether TikTok is safe for your kids. You go on places like TikTok. There are these people, foreigners, Ghanaians, who are counting money they've got from selling gold. They have bars, and they are posting these things on TikTok. Our leaders telling me that they have not heard or they have not seen. And indeed, if they haven't, then really you don't understand the age in which we are in, where everything in the digital space reveals something about the country. Things that you even need to take control of and just solve in terms of the problems that we have. So, I mean, David, maybe there are people who don't understand what's going on with galamsey, and so our report this morning will help them to put that into context.
So yesterday, the judge sat on Aisha Wang's case, and she's been denied bail for another 2 weeks, right? There's a story in the Ghanaian publisher, and there's a headline we read earlier: "We need a strong stance against illegal mining," says the judge. And I want to quickly read that story for you to give you context for what we are discussing this morning. An Accra Circuit Court hearing the case of N1, aka Aisha Wang, said to be an illegal miner, and 3 others, has turned down bail application put in by their lawyers. The court, presided over by Mr. Samuel Bright Aqua, declined bail on the grounds that Aisha Wang's re-entry into Ghana remains unclear. According to the trial judge, the activities of illegal miners were destroying the environment, people, and the habitat of wildlife. Watching the activities of illegal miners on television speaks volumes of how our forests are being destroyed. Everyone is complaining, he said, adding that we need to take a strong stance on these activities. We need to take a strong stance on these activities. Captain Nkrabea Efat Date retired. The defense counsel for Aisha Wang repeated his application for bail, saying his client had been in custody for the past 1 month. "I pray that 4 weeks in custody is on the high side," admit the accused person to bail. This case is about mother, daughter, and 2 other gentlemen, he stressed. According to Captain Efat Date, retired, the absence of the substantive prosecutor in court showed that the state wasn't ready to commence trial, adding that the prosecution's representative was in court only to take a date. He further prayed the court to diffuse impressions that the accused persons were foreigners and therefore could not be granted bail. Captain retired Ifadate recounted how difficult it was for him and others to have access to their clients who were in custody of the National Investigations Bureau, and then the story goes on there. All right. Now, the point the judge made is simple. galamsey, it's affecting the environment, it's affecting people's livelihood, and it's affecting the habitat of wildlife to which we are connected. All right. Now, we have a report for you. This report is by our colleague Edward Opomafu. When we come back, we'll try and tie it all together.
This is the level of devastation. Vast lands have been destroyed because they engage in illegal operations here, and it happens within a number of communities within the Ashanti region. More persons, both indigents and migrants, in many mining communities have made it a major activity to engage in galamsey. Within the Amansia South District, for instance, the practice is common in areas such as Manso Datano, Manso Dadiase, Manso Takrasi, among others. It is no secret that people in these areas openly engage in the act. Women and children are very much involved in the act. Some serve as spies and alert the illegal miners once an anti-galamsey team gets to any of the communities. These illegal miners are mostly armed, as guns and bullets were retrieved at some of the sites when they started fleeing following the arrival of the Operation Hall 2 team. The almost 24-hour operation was started on Monday and ran into the early hours of Tuesday, was aimed at seizing various mining equipment used by the galamsey operators. The military then destroyed shelter and other items used by the illegal miners. The team seized excavators on site and drove them to Datano police station, removed the batteries and control boards, and then left the excavators in the care of the police. Some other mining equipment were burnt on the sites. Others, in their bid to outsmart the team, moved the excavators from the mining sites and parked them in front of their houses. But the military team seized them and subsequently took same to the police station. One, which the owners had deliberately taken keys away, was burnt, while two others were destroyed. A vehicle and a motorbike at the galamsey site were seized as well. Farmers in the area have been lamenting the adverse effects of galamsey in the area on the activities. Ajodoma is a farmer at Mansuda Diase.
Galamsey ni haya wa. Esi abi yana sekwe. Yenya bebe ni yafa. Me fete amakoto. Fete ni nyina akafie. Me nya bebe ni mafafa. Yensu haya. Esi yana kwa afie ma wonyensu na de agukoko no so. Wonyensu na de agukoko no so. Ensu ni nyina sei. Esi ensu we. Obetima asade agu machine. E de agukoko so. Untumi. E de galamsey ni haya wa.
Na se ekwan no o mama na se kwan be so kiremu.
O mudi galawa na asai. Esi wuntumi mfam. Odi opedi machina mfam enkyerɛ na hwɛ ade.
Se na net ya
na ya kai kama ana ne ya faso e de abobo ya moto. Wo kobo kokoko no gu won ma. Wo fra abobo ya na aba fa abegu fie. Ɛna so ante sa. Ɛna yentimi nkɔ. Na gaba so awe. Me de afira fie mo. Masade besana ko fie. Ade sebe mabodam. Me modam. Ese me so.
A young man who had his excavator seized by the team, Akwasi Yeboah, admits that the operations are causing serious distractions to the environment, but believes they do not have any other option considering their current circumstances. Because when you said you're more young, I say,
I say, if I say, you see, as I say, Mamma boy. If I ever know I want in China for the cabinet in every and yes, you idiot in the comedian. I do an Marsolano papa and ya of Facodo. We are no penny of money. Omo women will be a baby free, the same money, weapon of money.
Akwasi Yeboah believes coming up with laws to properly regulate mining in the area is the appropriate solution to the menace.
Namsa me kofie kura me ni adwa bia me koye nti mra na mo ya bobo an mo bo an e tie ye ho adwuma ya hwani se mo asese emra my yiniso.
At the Chumampunya district, a similar operation was undertaken. One person was arrested, while other mining equipment were confiscated. The confiscated excavators were left in the care of the district assembly. The military team that is embarking on the exercise believes this will gradually discourage people from the act. Citi News observed that in the early hours of Tuesday,
more vehicles used to convey excavators were being sent to some of the mining areas after the operation to supposedly transport the excavators that the team did not see and seize. The galamsey economy appears to be booming in these mining communities. Seizing or destroying the excavators come at a huge cost to the owners, since the residents tell Citi News that they rent out the excavators to the illegal miners for about 9,000 Ghana cedis for 8 hours.
And that was a report by our colleague Edward Opong Mafo. Of course, he's Citi News' bureau chief for the Middle Belt of Ghana. Now, David, you see, let's, and we'll be speaking to Edward soon so that we can also expansion on this conversation and the report that he's brought to us. But let's just put this into context.
Yeah.
We really began to fight this fight as a nation in 2017. Citi FM, we didn't have Citi TV then, but Citi FM had been really much at the forefront of this, so much so that we formed a media coalition against galamsey. We had our very own Kojo Ajiman, who was traveling around with the then Lands and Natural Resources Minister, Honorable Peter Amewu. He is now for railroads, right? And they were traveling around the country, documenting what was going on, bringing, and it wasn't just a one-time thing. They would go periodically. So if they went today, they would bring back samples from the different rivers around the country, see what the state was, go back a month later, 2 months later, according to what had been laid out in terms of the fight and how we're systematically going to go against galamsey, neck to neck, head to head, you know, what that was producing. And at that point, our water bodies were getting clearer. And I'm not telling you what I heard, so what we saw.
Yeah, I actually saw it.
You know what we experienced? We were in the streets sharing out flyers. And at the time, I remember that even people living in the cities, this Accra that we are sitting in, parts of Kumasi, people did not even want to receive the flyers in their cars because they felt that it had nothing to do with them. Fast forward, the Ghana Water Company started talking about some of the challenges, giving reasons why certain parts of the urban spaces in the country were facing deficits with water supply. And they attributed some of that to the effects of galamsey. You know, in 2019, there were a group of us from Citi who even went to Germany to speak about how we had used social media to, for activism. And we did, of course, we weren't just doing Stop Galamsey, we spoke about stopping the use of tramadol and how other media houses had done that. We just looked at different things, but Stop Galamsey now had caught so much attention. Then we had the soldier operative, military operative that was sent into the galamsey spaces, to go and stop
Vanguard.
Pointing, because you remember Major Mahama, how he was killed. So a lot has been sacrificed. Life has been lost because we said we are fighting galamsey. How is it that 5 years down the line, we're still having this conversation? Why?
Well, I mean, I have always held the position that we're not truly interested in dealing with the problem.
We are not.
We are doing band-aid type of treatment. You know, if you have a certain kind of infection and you want to treat it, you have to use surgical methods. You have to use drastic methods. You don't just cover it up with a plaster and think that plaster and gentian violet and you're good to go. No. Hardcore antibiotics may be needed. Surgery may be needed. And if you see, and the thing is that what we don't realize is that the longer we play at it, joking around with it, as if giving everybody the impression that we are doing something wonderful, but really we are not. Eventually, gangrene will set in. And when gangrene sets in, it's only amputation that happens afterwards, or death. One of two things, amputation or death. If you won't deal with the problem and deal with it properly and swiftly, eventually it's going to be amputation or death. And that one, it's only one of them you have a choice about. That's amputation. If you do it early enough, you can amputate. It means a part of the country is lost. A part of our soul is gone. Who we are as Ghanaians, a part of, or else the country is perishing. And we think it's a joke, but we are watching. In our lifetime, we only have a few more years before the threat of importing water wholesale into the country will be upon us.
We're almost there.
Yeah.
Yo.
It's not a joke. Initially, we said 2030, and 2030 sounded like it was far away. 2030 is literally 7 years away.
Yeah, I mean,
2022
is almost gone.
Yeah, 7 years away. So, well, our correspondent who brought us that report, Edward Opomafo, has joined us on Zoom. Edward, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, David.
Hey, how are you?
David, I'm well. I hope you're fine.
Yes. I'm fantastic. Thank you very much for joining us. And thank you for the report that you brought. So you've heard some of the rants that we are going on this morning. Where have we gone wrong in all of this? What's your perspective?
So, David, when you go to some of these areas, one thing is clear. You see, initially when the fight about that galamsey activities should stop, and there were lots of military men, were actions that were taken at the time. In fact, it stopped at the point. But now it looks like everyone wants to get involved because they feel that it doesn't look like the activities are going to stop anytime soon. And the impression is that when you get to these mining communities, everyone is involved. And they are, some of them will even confide in you and tell you that why are foreigners being allowed to operate on some of these areas? And they even allege that some of these instances, there are some of them who are under the protection of security officers. And so they are indigents of these places, and they don't have other forms of job opportunities. So this appears to be the only way for them. And that has been their major point. So they feel, well, this is where they are from. Their farmlands are being destroyed, and they do not really have formal education. So that is the only way around for them. And so that has been a justification. And now, David, it's not just about one group of people. If you interact with the people, it appears every household in the mining community, you have someone or a lot of people who are into the galamsey activities. And so these areas to the road network, to some of these mining communities, they are just terrible. So when they get to know that there's an anti-galamsey team coming, at times we will be embedded in the team and we'll be there. And you could hear people even calling or even shouting names. Some will be making phone calls just to tell them that, well, the team is coming. And so the people who are on the site should run away from the area. And it's like a cartel. It doesn't look like this group is doing it and they've left it. They are all connected. There are spies around who are making everything possible to ensure that they continue engaging in some of these activities. And David, looking at it, and if some of these operations that we had, that's the one that the military had and we joined, if some of these things are not done on a regular basis, it doesn't look likely that these activities will stop anytime soon. And it is very normal. If I were coming at a point, some people were just saying it that while we are with the military team, people were saying, oh, why is it that the people couldn't pay? Oh, just pay and they will give you this equipment. That's it. And that is how they see it. They feel that it is a very good business for them. David, one excavator, if you are an illegal miner and you go for it, you rent it out, they rent these excavators that every 8 hours they charge 9,000 Ghana cedis. And so for people, some have actually gone for these excavators and they're engaging in these businesses. And people are even struggling to get access to the excavators just to go and mine. And it's like a free-for-all fight. Everyone feels like, well, let's all get involved. Let's try and search and try just find any possible means of getting something. And that's what is happening in these mining communities. So if you get to the Adansi areas, you get to the Achumampunya areas and the Mansu areas, it's terrible. Vast lands, and these ones have been destroyed. At times, people's farms are destroyed, the access routes to the farms are destroyed, and it appears there's nothing you could do about it. So it's just like, if you are engaged in your farming activities, we may just come and operate there. If you don't want to be part of it, then you should just go back and possibly die of hunger. That's the whole point. So one young man was telling me that he feels that if he doesn't get involved, people will perceive that he is a lazy person. And so they are all trying to get involved. And truly, once they get involved, they're able to make something out of it. And the situation is such that the police or the other people around feel so helpless. They know this is what is happening. There's virtually nothing you can do. And the military team, even before embarking on some of these operations, they go to these places with plainclothes. And they say that they really see these things happening. But the point is that once they see that, oh, you are coming in a military vehicle and other things, that's where they start moving away. And they find ways of taking their equipment from the mining sites. Some deliberately put them in front of their houses. And when this military team that went, they also had ways of taking them even from your houses, if that's where you have parked them. Then you give reasons as to why you are having it, and then some investigations will be done into them. And so that's how it is. But basically, David, it doesn't look like these areas that people are willing to stop. And when people are even arrested, at the point, we were there somewhere around 8 p.m., 9 p.m., thereabout. And it looks like the whole community will just gather just to be there, and people are so emotional about it. They feel that, well, something should be done. It's very normal. So these equipment should not be seized. And so that's it. So it looks normal, and it doesn't look like it's going to stop anytime soon if drastic measures are not put in place or some kind of serious strategies employed this time around.
What sort of drastic measures beyond what we have done so far do you imagine would work? Because it seems to me as though at different points in time we've tried different things. You know, is it that we don't have enough we don't have enough boots on the ground? Is it that you know, I'm not even sure. I'm at a loss as to what it is that I know that the cartel mentality is pretty much entrenched at this point. Right. You know, they've developed a large network of spies and you know.
Because we've left it for too long.
Yeah,
So
you know, interconnected people, financiers, different. The value chain is just ridiculous, you know. But at what point do we? You see, it's like fighting a snake in an underground, you know, maze of holes. Where is the snake passing? You know, and where is its head? Where is its tail? And at which point you can't cut the tail of a snake and expect it to die.
Exactly.
But it seems to me that that's what we're doing with the galamsey. We're just cutting parts of its skin, part of the tail, and all of that, and expecting it to die at a point. So I'm not sure, in your opinion, from where you sit, what further drastic action can we take that will actually decapacitate this snake forever?
Yeah, so David, you see, when these things started and the military teams, or they will go around and then destroy excavators, a lot of people were raising concerns about why is it that the excavators are being destroyed and all that. But if you join some of these operations, you get to understand them better. Ideally, people get to know that the excavators are the main ones that people use as driving force to engage in some of these activities. Okay. And once they're able to take these excavators to some places, or maybe able to seize them, and ideally they do not get back to the sites, that's fine. But this is it. when we go to some of the sites, while we were there, and in the process that some excavators were seized, just as the military team were even going to the team was even going to some other areas to check on some buildings, people went there, they stole the control board. You see, with a control board, without it, you can't even move it.
Yeah.
And that's also very expensive.
Yeah.
And so at times, they try to remove the control board, run away, thinking that without it, you can't move it. Or you will still move back. You go away, and then they will come back, fix it, and then use it to engage in the activities. And so normally when it happens like that, and then the team will just threaten that if they don't bring it, they are going to set it ablaze, that they're going to burn it. Then you see people rushing back, pleading, oh, I'm the one who stole it. I'm come to fix it. And then they take these ones to the police station.
Yeah.
That's what has been happening. And in some cases, people run away with the control boards and the batteries, and then the team will just have to find ways of destroying the engine, or they will just burn these ones. And it looks like when you try to find a way of destroying the excavators or seizing the excavators, it affects the financiers or the big people around it a lot.
Yeah.
And one thing that we observed was that the one were coming back somewhere around 1 a.m. thereabouts. On our way, we could see these low-bed vehicles, the
flatbeds,
a number of them coming from the Kumasi area towards the Mansu area. That means that those who were lucky enough and didn't have their excavators destroyed, or they didn't have them seized, they are trying to use these vehicles to go back, pick them and just take them away. They realized that, oh, this action was quite serious and it could affect their livelihood to some extent. So if some of these things are done on a regular basis, and people feel like we're here constantly, this community, a team of military men are here, they are here constantly for more than a month, people will not be able to operate for a very long time. And then you do it consistently, it is going to work. But another thing too is that it's a cartel. The people have spies everywhere. In fact, one man who spoke to me on condition of anonymity, he was alleging that indeed they have spies within the military, they have spies at the spies at the Minerals Commission, they have spies at the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources. So even before some of these operations are done, they get to know ahead of time and they take their equipment from the site. So by the time you get there, you may not find these ones.
Okay. All right.
And that's one other aspect of it too.
All right. Well, I mean, I think that from what you said, one of the ways of knocking harder blows to the head of the snake, you know, as it were, the snake called galamsey, the harder blows is to actually burn the excavators indiscriminately without any, you know, because I know there was a lot of argument. Why don't you use
them for something else? Use it for scrap metal. There are all those conversations.
This is something that we are not playing games with anymore. If we decide that we are serious about this, for me, the only serious thing that you can do, or the only way you can show that you are really serious in this fight, is literally to go indiscriminately, and every mining town, unless it's not a mining town, every mining town that is known, when we see excavator, we burn. Finish. It's as simple as that. No discussion. Otherwise, anything else is still like pampering the problem, you know, and that's the way it seems to me, Edward. Edward, thank you very much for the report and for the conversation.
Thank you.
Yeah, stay safe out there. All right. All right. All right. So, I mean, honestly, I think that if we say we are serious, we need to be drastic. And if we're going to be drastic, for me, listen, every company that comes to build roads, they have their own equipment. They have their own machinery, excavators and whatever else. These companies do not take the excavator from the road that they are building to go and do secondary job of galamsey.
No.
Do you understand? when you go into a mining town, every existing every existing excavator you see there, whether it is working, it is not working, we burn. It's as simple as that. Listen, you know, I don't think people understand the level of drastic action that we need to take to really solve this problem.
We are in desperate times. And desperate times call for what?
Desperate measures. Yeah.
Where we have got to, it's clearly no longer a joke.
No.
You see, even the way we define galamsey officially, it's illegal small-scale mining or illegal artisanal mining. This is not artisanal mining anymore.
No.
Once you have machinery that the big licensed mining companies have, you're not playing with the small boys anymore. Now you're playing in the big game. And if you're playing the big game without recourse to our laws, without recourse to what we need to do to protect every single aspect of Ghanaian life, be it our environment, human life, whatever it is, because you haven't been licensed to do this particular thing, then we have to do what we have to do and take drastic measures, like you're saying. And let me just say that galamsey didn't start yesterday.
No, it didn't.
It's something, or small-scale mining, artisanal small-scale mining has been with us for years. And when you go to Deo Gratis at Jamestown, oldest photo studio in Ghana, they're celebrating their centenary year, 100 years, 1922. You see pictures with the headbands and that, basic traditional technology of mining gold in different communities in the country. But now we have
water bodies never were affected when it was done that way.
Exactly. But now 100 years later, or we are using excavators. So it means that the game has become bigger. And the game has become bigger, and that is not what it's supposed to be in these mining communities, these illegal mining communities. Then we need to take the drastic measures. As simple as that. And as for playing the games, we are tired. Those who are in charge, let's stop playing the games. Let's stop playing the games, and let's stop this. Oh, we've put out the fire here. Okay, but then we've left the fuel in the jelly cans at another place, and then fire erupts again. Then let's go and put out the fire again. Okay, and then, there's some other fuel somewhere. This time it's charcoal. And then somebody else going to throw a match there. Oh, let's go and put out the fire. That's what we are doing.
Yes, exactly
Is it not ridiculous? Is it not shameful?
We are like children. It's an infantile behavior that we are infantile approach that we have towards dealing with the galamsey problem. And unless we change it and behave like grown, responsible adults who want the country goodness in the future. Listen.
Well,
I say burn every excavator in all mining areas indiscriminately. Let everybody come and justify why their own should not have been burnt. You will discover that most people, majority, 99%, will not have any excuse that will stand anywhere.
And for those who are in charge, the leaders, government officials, if there are particular issues that you are facing, is it a money issue that's preventing us from doing what we need to do? Is it certain things, blockades that, let us know, because we don't understand. Maybe we are sitting here and we don't get it. But the point is we don't understand why you're not doing what needs to be done. So tell us, if there are problems, you tell us as well so that we can understand. Let's go for a break. This is still Breakfast Daily on Citi TV.
All right, welcome back. It's Breakfast Daily. We are having community-focused conversations, and today we are looking at galamsey again. This issue is bedeviling our society. It's threatening our future. Our leaders don't seem to have a full grip on, the issues, because our water bodies are getting more and more polluted. And, for me, Apioko, it's a case of leaving it too late. I feel as though the longer we leave it, the longer the recovery period for our water bodies will take. Case in point.
Of course.
Case in point. 2 years ago, our colleague Kojo Ajiman, you referenced earlier, brought back a bottle of water from the Pra River that he had fetched. A whole year later, a year ago, this was a year ago, in February, the water, very little of the silt had sunk down to the bottom. It was still cloudy. And I thought to myself, I said, so, of course, this is an artificial situation, as in the water is in a bottle. So hopefully in the natural habitat, because of the plant growth and other forms of natural activities, it may repair itself quicker.
Yeah.
But it is a scary proposition.
It really is.
You know, to think about what we're doing to ourselves.
It really is. And no, but this thing you said about having left it for too long, and the longer we leave it, I mean, that's what it is. It's just like we've been using medical references all morning. You know, it's just like being ill. You're not feeling too well.
Yeah.
You don't know what it is.
Yeah.
A temperature here, a
Yeah.
temperature there.
Yeah.
Some diarrhea here, some diarrhea there.
Yeah, say, oh, no.
You're sneezing here, coughing there, and there. So, okay, no, me, I won't go to hospital.
Yeah,
Fine.
yeah. This one is just this. Let me take para.
Yes, but headaches mean things.
Yes.
Diarrhea means something. A stomach ache of any kind means something.
Yeah.
If you are in top tip shape, you are not supposed to have certain manifestations of symptoms.
Thank you.
Right? So if you don't go and check them, before you realize that headache, it was a sign of a brain tumor.
Yeah.
You ignored it.
Yeah.
That stomach was a sign of appendicitis. And now you have to go under the knife.
Yep.
You know, we've seen it happen so many times. That ache, or that we are entering Breast Cancer Awareness Month in a few days.
Yeah.
That lump that you ignored in your breast.
It was like, oh.
Now it's become cancerous, and you're at the last stage, and you have to either, you know, cut off the breast or, you know, do some kind of serious life-changing chemotherapy or something of the sort. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
The same thing in every aspect of life, and galamsey is no different.
Yeah.
Galamsey is absolutely no different. But you know what? We have one of the entities that has been at the forefront of really talking and making sure that we don't forget that galamsey is a canker to our national lives, has been Arocha Ghana. Okay, and we have Dao Bosu. He's a deputy director of Arocha, and we're just going to speak to him so that we can also, because they have also done a lot of work, a lot of research. They're seeing things on the ground that we may be missing. So let's speak to Dao. Good morning. How are you doing?
All is great.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Yes.
Wonderful. So let's just talk about galamsey. I mean, we've been talking about it for years. Arocha Ghana has been very active, you know, and you've also been very vocal about what's going on. But where you sit and where you stand now, what can we do to solve the problem, if anything at all?
Okay, thank you very much and for having me this morning. I think what can we do is a big question, because it's big because we've been at this, I mean, not 6 years, but many more years than that. I think there was some small efforts during the Mahama time. And then since President Nana took over also in 2017, we had a more, I would say, active action on galamsey. We've been at this for 6 years, and the problems are still really at their peak. So I believe that question of what can we do is one that's really needs some serious reflection by all. And I think yesterday I was excited that during the case hearing of Ashawan's case, the judge made an appeal to everyone, and particularly to judges, to also support, because I think so far, and I take this from what Vanguard team said some years back, that they were on the ground making arrests and all of that, but eventually when it gets to the prosecution that is needed to ensure that there's deterrence, they don't get that. That is never done. So there was a missing link in the enforcement regime. And if you ask what can we do, I would say that we need to ensure that we make sure our enforcement regime is comprehensive. It gets to everyone. At the moment, we are in the pits, we are in the trenches, making sure that we are getting people off our rivers and streams. But we need to also get to the people who are financing this particular destructive enterprise. And until we do that, we are going to be at this for a long, long time, because we know that the people in the pits are not really those who have the resources and the means to keep getting the bulldozers to the ground. Because, I mean, just renting a bulldozer or an excavator for a day is so much money. It is not possible for the people in the pits to do that. They're just there to get the crumbs off the table. So if we really want to deal with this, we are making all that. If we don't get to the people financing the enterprise, we'll be wasting a lot of time, and this will not go away now.
So Dara, our correspondent Edward Opomafo, we spoke to him a couple of minutes ago, and one of the things he alluded to was the fact that it looks as though burning of the excavators as an action that was taken a little earlier was actually something that really hit the financiers hard. And so there's been a lot of agitation against burning of excavators, and this seems to have taken us backwards. There are people there who, you know, the action is, I mean, he made reference to a particular story that happened, the experience he had, where he was embedded with some of the team, and the soldiers decided to you know, they had arrested or seized one of the excavators. They were leaving to go and check on another concession, and then the people came and stole the control board. So the soldiers, when they came back, said, if whoever in the village has taken this control board does not return the control board, they are setting the excavator ablaze. And they came and rushed back and said, we have it, we have it, we have it. We stole it. Almost to suggest that we would rather own up to stealing the control board and have lesser consequences than for you to set the excavator ablaze, you know. And I think that for me, this is actually the sign of the direction we need to go in to deal with the problem. I don't know what your thoughts are.
No, I think you have a point there. It was a very drastic measure on the spot action, and so you think that it is the way to go. But you see, our laws are clear. When equipment like that is confiscated in engaging in illegal activity, it needs to be taken over by the state, and then also then used for other purposes that are very useful. So for us to say that,
so let's change the law.
Well, I don't think now we have the time to really look at it. The law has no problem now. I mean, we've done an amendment to Act 703 now, so I believe that there's nothing wrong with the law as it is. What we need to do is, for me, like say that is enforcement. So why do you go to the ground, you see excavators, and then you decide to burn when you could actually take steps to take control of this excavator? I've heard the military and the police talk about the fact that they don't have the means to carry these excavators, but these are heavy machines. They don't just travel overnight. I mean, they are in particular locations. You can always set up a surveillance mechanism to monitor where they are. Usually where these activities are also, we know. But you see, if you burn the excavator, you lose out on also getting information on who that excavator belonged to. And you following through with following the money, following the financiers, following those who are behind all of these activities. I also think that when you burn excavators, it also tends to be the fact that you then avoid asking the question who is actually supporting the illegal activity in these areas. So nobody goes up again. You don't get to prosecute anyone. You only deal with the people you arrested, and then everything is done. So we burned the excavator, so it is done. I think we need to get to the bottom of who is behind these things. I mean, who is financing? Because the cost of seizing somebody's excavator, the person knowing that they're not going to have access to it, it is working for the state, and then also bringing that person to book is much more deterrent than just burning the excavator and letting the person off the hook. Most of the time, when they burn the excavator, you don't find whoever owned it anymore.
Are you not concerned, Darryl, that there may be people that are either state actors or connected to state actors that may actually be involved in financing some of these galamsey activities?
I think we are concerned. Everybody agrees. The ministry agrees. We have all been able to flag that particular participation of politically exposed persons. So the fight, and as much as we say the law enforcement agencies should ensure they are complete in terms of what they do, the state also should fish out all these people who claim they are in government, but they are also involved in galamsey, because this is a double standard and it's also a conflict of interest. So the state must show real commitment and give us a posture that let us know that they are truly committed by making sure all their people who are into galamsey are found culpable and brought to book. Until we do that, so it needs to complement. So we need to see community people taking action at the local level to secure and protect their own resources. We need to see the law enforcement agencies also ensuring that there's comprehensive enforcement and compliance. They should avoid selective administration of justice and application of the law. And then we need to see the politicians, especially the executive, making some people scapegoats. I mean, if you are found culpable engaging in galamsey, if you're a DCE, if you're a minister, you should be made to resign and also brought to book, not just resign, but also brought to book. But these are all infractions against the law. And until we do all of these things, we'll keep discussing these.
But Daryl, why are we approaching dealing with the issue of galamsey at different levels? Why are we approaching it almost with kid gloves? Because it's an illegality.
Well, you see, years back, it wasn't an illegality. And the reason why, I'm saying it wasn't an illegality more to the point that it was not happening at this scale. I can talk about 15 years ago, and small-scale mining was what we all knew, even though a lot of them were engaged in unsustainable practices on site. We didn't have everybody getting up one day and say, oh, I can dig my cocoa farm, I can dig any river bodies and go to gold. It wasn't like that. Yeah. But we saw a posture from government even supporting activities like that. Yeah. And there was also a lot of us saying that, oh, it's a livelihood option. Let's allow the youth. A lot of us have been engaged in several enterprises. Mining was never an option. But if you see the government also taking a position in development, then everybody is going to think about mining. Yeah. And that is why government itself has been investing a lot and pushing this community mining and all of it. So much so that they don't have the moral right to even say that most of the mining activity should stop. Until government gives a strong position that, look, the only legal mining we are going to allow in this country is small-scale mining and large-scale mining. Or if they think that there needs to be another version in between, they should put a law in place for that to happen. Yeah. But to say we are going to allow community mining, even invest in it, it means that the government is in support of this small-scale mining, these mining activities at the community level. And people will get in and all of that. Initially, when in 2017, the president said they are going to take steps to secure our natural heritage, what we rather saw happen was that they changed the faces of the actors of the illegal mining. They replaced all the NDC constituency people and all their players with their own people, to the extent that it was even seen as a means to fund the party. We heard some of the records that came out. So we have seen government itself having a vested interest in all of this. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, they control. So you need to tackle it at these various levels. The executive have a responsibility, but the community people who are the primary stakeholders, who will feel the impact of their polluted water, their degraded farmlands, and also polluted or contaminated farming lands, need to take up action and defend them. So the law allows them to do that. Yeah. So until we tackle this issue at these various levels and request our executive and the ministers and our leadership to show that they are really committed, we won't be able to solve this.
All right. Thank you very much, Daryl. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And I'm sure we'll talk again. Yes, thank you. So we've been speaking to Daryl Bosu. He's the Assistant Director of Arucha, Ghana. And I mean, look, David, this... You see, one of the things that makes the fight against galamsey so difficult is how multi-layered, multifaceted it is. And simply because of that, we need to go back to the drawing board, as the politicians like to say. Yeah. Go back to the drawing board, go back to the basics. We have laws, we have statutes governing what we are talking about this morning. Yeah. Let's look at those statutes. Do they make sense? Can things be amended? Should things be amended?
Yeah.
If so, what? Why? If we are amending, what specific things are we trying to address, you know, in the whole scheme of things? We need to look at these things again. And then, just like Darrell said, I want to reiterate that if our government officials, those who are supposed to be running the ship, if these people know of individuals who are financing, who are in some way, shape, or form involved, complicit in all of this, they need to be called out. They need to be called out. And you see, Ghanaians, all we understand is embarrassment.
Yeah.
It's not about doing it behind closed doors.
No.
And then, oh, okay, you go.
Expose it, shine the light on it.
Or in some cases, I'll put you in, I'll demote you.
Yeah.
You just move here.
Or
No.
transfer you.
Expose. Let the public know. Because it's also a deterrent to people of different social strata.
Yeah.
That if I do X, Y, Z, regardless of who I am and what my name is, I will be held accountable for the problems I've caused for the nation.
Yeah.
These problems are being caused at different levels, and ultimately it's causing
the
problems for Ghana,
Yeah.
the nation Ghana.
Yeah.
So we really need to take a look at this thing, look at all the different things, make sure that we have a cohesive approach to it, because you see, these things are also not happening in the big cities.
No.
You know, it's not cheap in the big cities.
There's no galamsey in Accra.
No,
so
it's happening in the communities, and these communities, a lot of them are food baskets.
Yeah.
Again, we're dealing with some of Ghana's. Look at the social pyramid. Ghana's poorest. And so, they are going to jump on an opportunity to get involved in galamsey because it's just an opportunity to put food on their table, pay their children's school fees, buy some clothes to put on their backs, shoes to make sure that their feet don't bleed by stepping on stones. It's really that simple for some people.
I agree with you.
But look at the grave effect it has on us. So let's be serious. Let's revisit the basics of things. Decide what we want to do as a country. What we should do, because it is good for Ghana and not for some individuals' pockets to become fat. This is Breakfast Daily. Let's take a break.